Hey, I'm Alejandro Leston, and today I'm going to be talking about how I became a piano teacher. So, ever since I was little, I noticed that I had this curiosity. I always had this sense of wonder. I would see a musical instrument and I would want to make something on it, especially the piano. And so, over the years, I began to, with the encouragement, especially of my mom, to compose my own compositions. My first one was called Raindrops. And one of the first things I noticed there was that if I were to just repeat one note over and over again on the left hand and move around with the right hand, that the context, the relationship between that repeating note and everything else would keep on changing. And I felt that it would be a refreshing way to make something simple in which I could still focus more on one hand and then on the other hand, just do something over and over again. So as I made more and more songs over the years, I felt that this was something that was a huge part of myself. And so in order to become a piano teacher, I wanted to reach other people to bring out that part of themselves because everyone has something that they are curious about, something that they're interested in. You get a sense of wonder if you maybe open a notebook and you see all the blank pages. Maybe you see a sketchbook and you see how there's so many possibilities, so many different things that you can draw. So that was always something that I would say I was in tune with, and I had a lot of help from my parents and my sister, and they all were there for me. So I'm very grateful for that. So, in order to reach my position, I had to go to music education. So, I went to Brooklyn College, I did some music education. And originally, I was going to be a public school teacher, but I felt like I was more probably well suited for something one on one. My skill set was such that I could empathize with people and I could see where people are at, but not necessarily be as extroverted to be with many, many people at once. So that, as well as wanting to focus on piano, wanting to create my own schedule, wanting to have a creative liberty with how I teach, what I get to focus on. These were all things that drove me to teach private piano lessons. And in order to come up with this decision, it was it was factoring into my decision to be a musician and to also do performances and to compose my own music and to strive to write music for different musicians as well. So it was kind of seeing like the puzzle piece in which teaching will fit into my life. And I'm very grateful that I made that decision because I felt like ever since I started teaching, I was doing something that was very, very meaningful. You develop bonds with all your students and you help to learn something that's so important, something that can constantly be with them for the rest of their lives, hopefully. Because music is a form of therapy. You can express all of yourself in your music. You can do something, you can play something when you're sad, which will help to ameliorate your feelings, help you to um, transcend that. And then you can also, maybe you're joyful, you're going to be in a party type of mood. You can do something to elevate your mood even more. Like one of my pieces, I go like, something that's very high energy is my form of like having a party with myself, like after I get home from teaching. Um, And I think it's great when other people can do that, when other people have something that they do for fun, something that constantly can like reach them where they are in their day, in their fluctuating mood. So I think in order to be successful as a teacher, it's important to have communication, to ask a lot of questions. Ask your students questions like, do you feel like this is getting better? You can ask questions like, on a rating 1 to 10, how difficult was this section? You can even give them like multiple choice. Right now, we only have 10 minutes left in the class. Would you prefer to review this section a little bit more, or to go on and maybe begin a little bit of the next piece? And oftentimes, they'll be very relieved that you give them that option, and they'll pick the thing that feels most refreshing in the moment. Then you can tell them, all right, so we'll go on, we'll begin learning the next piece, Debussy's Clair de Lune, and then this one, practice it at home, and then we'll work on it next week as well. So I think it takes being flexible. It takes being open-minded for the lesson to take any direction, and being confident that whatever direction it takes, they're still playing the piano. They're still doing something that is reinforcing their skill set. Even if it's a different set of skills that you're focusing on from the previous lesson, I think that one tip I would give is to let there be a lot of different variety of skills being practiced. Not every lesson has to be the same, and they'll be relieved that there are differences in the lessons too. Something to keep it refreshing. You can have like more improvisation one day. Maybe a different day you can jam with them a bit more. You can play something like chords in the bottom. And then they can do Mary Had a Little Lamb above that, or something else. You can do ear training with them. You can play a note, and then you tell them what note that is. So like, for example, right now I'm pressing A, and then if I press this one, then I ask them, what do you think this one is, without looking at the piano? A, B, C, D, E. And then like that, you're practicing ear training. And I think that it's also important to not let these things seem arbitrary to them, but to explain the value in that specific skill. It's like, hey, listen, you can actually teach yourself any song that you like, because on YouTube, they have everything. So what we're doing right now basically is we're getting your hearing more used to the same exact distances between the notes that you'll hear in all of these songs. Then when you put it on playback, it's actually going to feel familiar. And then you'll be able to go try it on the piano, and then you'll be surprised how much you can get all by yourself. I think it's great to show them the value of all of these different skills. Like if you're practicing scales, explain the value of being able to do steps. Explain the value of being able to basically do something that is so fundamental, that is in thousands and thousands of different songs, albeit in different forms. Once you start seeing the value of all of these different skills and how they can come together and help you come up with a final product, that adds to the sense of wonder and their confidence. Then they have a feeling, I can do this. And I think that it's very good to spread more of that awareness, because everybody, like, once they have a feeling of confidence that they can do something, it makes it a more uplifting process. So I feel like the biggest part has to be with loving it. The biggest part has to be with trying to make it as fun as possible, because it could get a bit repetitive sometimes. So sometimes you have to think outside of the box. And sometimes if you see, for example, that the lesson has a possibility of becoming boring, you can like flip it some way. For example, sometimes I'll have them learn brand new measures in the upcoming section before going to then review something from the previous week, just in case that it could turn into like a repetitive sort of practice day, like identical to the previous lesson. You could learn some new measures first. Maybe they'll get more confidence like that, and then you review like the earlier section after. And then I think that what that could do is it makes it more likely that they'll play it correct. And even if they didn't practice it, even if they're unprepared, at least they got something new. and then it's less likely for it to be a frustrating lesson like throughout the whole entire time. So it just takes a lot of trial and error, and I think the biggest thing, like I said, is just have fun with it. Just try to make it as fun as possible for yourself, so that, because then the more fun you're having, the more likely you are to make it fun for them. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it is of service to you, of spreading some inspiration.